everybody, welcome back to another fashion edition. I'm Beebs Kelley. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I am giving you what the people want, which is more fashion editions featuring the Meg and her mini fashion disasters, which got me thinking, why is it that Meg tends to have such poor fashion sense? We're going to talk a little bit about that, but we're also going to take a dive into some of her outfits in white. Not the wedding looks, because I'm saving the royal wedding gowns for its own episode coming later this month. So you don't want to miss that. Be sure to subscribe. For many of us, if we don't look our best or don't have on the perfect types of outfits, it's often because we can't afford the perfect wardrobe, or perhaps even just a lack of access to the proper knowledge or proper fittings that we need to get the clothes that are going to look the best on us. It's not always easy to figure out what sorts of clothes will suit our bodies best, because we often don't see ourselves as accurately as we need to when it comes to like a sense of style. It has to do with all sorts of things like your preferences and things of that nature, but it also has a lot to do with your sense of self. And when you don't have a very strong sense of self, kind of aimlessly bob around in the fashion world in the teen years or young adulthood, or when you're still exploring and figuring things out, it's completely normal to not have a solid, steady sense of self and fashion sense. How that comes through in our clothes is very inconsistent in our youth, because we are figuring ourselves out still. When you don't grow out of that though, and you're somebody in your 40s like Meghan Markle, and you're still wayward in your fashion sense, that can signal a bit of a personality issue at times, psychologically speaking. Sometimes people who have a lack of sense of self tend to also lack good fashion sense, because they might, for example, somebody like Meghan, we've seen this before, she might mimic somebody else that she sees, or she might copy somebody else's outfit. You might see somebody who does this sort of a thing, they might kind of adopt the style of somebody they're interested in, like say they have a new crush or a new girlfriend. They might start dressing in a way that's more like that person rather than themselves or what they have been previously wearing. If you try to nail down an adjective of what is their sense of style, what is their style vibe, it's hard to do because they don't really have one. It's not a very strong sense of style. They are sort of, as I said, aimless. They kind of bounce from one thing to another. It can also partly be that they are dressing for someone other than themselves. Like we see with Kate, it's very clear the sense of style that she has. There are so many well-dressed women who are really in their element with it and know what they like, and they wear it and it works good and it looks good on them. Some people, like Meghan Markle, just don't. And it just gets me curious sometimes. Why is that? Why does she consistently look out of place in her clothes? Why don't her clothes look cohesive with her look overall? It makes me wonder. I'm just saying, I'm just chatting here, and it does make you think what's causing it. Because when you have access to stylists and money's not an issue and things of that nature, then you would think that you would be getting into that sort of powerful zone of, this is who I am, I'm confident and secure within myself, and this is what I like to wear, and this is my vibe, and this is my style, and the fashion sense is clear. Even if it's not a sense, like a style that you like, you can still see that they're dressing for themselves, clothes that vibe with them and their personality. Because a lot of times with clothes, it does correlate to your personality. And it does correlate to like the things that you like and kind of just generally speaking who you are. Your hobbies, all sorts of things play into the types of clothes that you wear, your lifestyle, etc. And so when you see somebody who just, it doesn't really flow. There's not a good flow to their wardrobe. There's not a good flow to their look overall. Things aren't cohesive. They're random. Like Meghan, a random fashion person. They're perhaps a bit narcissistic or things of that nature, or all sorts of things. Maybe they're a bit depressed. It can be things that are not nefarious, but they just they're not in sync with their personality and their inner self. They're not in tune with it to the point where it comes through in their clothing or their look overall. When it does though, when you have someone where those things align, that's when you get the wow moment of, this is just a fully beautiful look from head to toe, And everybody's fashion journey is different. Like I said, the general people, We don't have the same type of budgets and the same type of access that these other people do. So it's not the same for us. I'm not talking about us. Money and access to stylists and all those things are not an issue, and you still see them bobbing around somewhat aimlessly throughout their fashion journey. It's a bit puzzling to us. I just want to say, the woman who is secure in her femininity, her power, her body, she's secure in her beauty, personality, attractiveness. She has an inner compass. She knows who she is. She's steady. She has a strong identity, and she knows herself well. This is a woman who can dress for the occasion without feeling the need to break rules or seek attention. This is a woman who will dress for her body in ways that flatter and enhance her figure, whatever it may be, because it does not affect her confidence in any way. She knows her body as she knows herself, and making choices best suited for it is seen as a positive. And this is a woman who chooses clothes that delight her. They make her happy. She dresses for herself, not for men to be seen as sexy or for women to compete. She dresses for herself. This is a powerful lady, and usually the most radiant lady in the room. They are the type of lady that is pleasant and happy and easy to be with, and you just are like, wow, I'm impressed with her, because she seems together, because it's cohesive from the inside out. That's the vibe that I get from Catherine, Princess of Wales, and many other women out there. On the other hand, we see Meg, dressing in unfortunate and bizarre ways, opposite from what I just mentioned. It just got me thinking about what the root cause of these strange choices have been, and perhaps it is just that aimless lack of sense of self disrupting the Meg's ability to center into her own gravity and become a real fashion icon the way we've seen Catherine do so beautifully. Anyway, I'm sorry, I just got to thinking about it, and I wonder why. I'm a naturally curious person, I can't quite help it. But let's get into these outfits in white that Meg presented us with over the last few years, and just have a nice time. First up, I call this the napkin dress. I don't know, what do you guys call it? She has the frame to carry volume around the hips. We've been over this. She needs a little volume in the hips. Silhouette can work. Just for me, it looks a little droopy. You know, the way that it's draped is just a way that I personally don't like that much. And what really bugs me the most, though, I could get past the way that it's draped. What really gets me the most is down low on the bottom, you can see how heavy the hem looks and that stiff slit situation. It just doesn't look that great in my opinion. I just don't personally like it that much. It looks to me a little bit like a stiff banquet napkin wrapped around. The color was great. The hair was great. Even though it has a center part, I still think it was a great look for her. Her makeup looked nice. The jewelry was understated. I like the slit you can see here on the inner part of the cuff. I think that's very nice. I just didn't love it. And the flap across the top that went around the shoulders, it did camouflage all boob. So I'm not sure that's a great thing to do if you're already not super busty, but I think it was okay. Now on to a very infamous dress, the Platinum Jubilee coat dress situation that she wore to the service. Sort of a cement white, like a almost grayish white, which was fine. The color of it overall, just fine. The gloves look like they're falling off, that's bad. The huge collar, huge mistake. You shouldn't do that if you have a small neck. It gives me pilgrim vibes. It's a bit silly looking, almost loose, but stiff. It just comes out looking a little goofy. The belt is horrible. It's for once not necessarily up too high, but rather it just doesn't look good because it's causing puckering around the dress itself. And it has a flap. Why not tape down the flap? What's happening? The shoes looked a little too big. The hat looked a little too beachy, a little too like sun hat, like casual. And I hate the flap at the back, the trench coat vibe flap at the back. Do not like it. Not one little bit. What did you guys think of the Platinum Jubilee outfit? It's the one in which she was booed and they were shocked about where they were sitting. But let's move on. I'm not real jazzed about this dress, but it could have been worse, like the next one coming up. But the biggest gripe here that I have is she should have worn her hair back. Because you see, this dress has a lot of interest around the shoulder. It has this, I think it's cutouts, like laser cutouts probably, across the shoulders. So she's got that interest up there. And then she has a red lip, which is eye-catching. Immediately you're going to see that. And personally, I think it looks a little bit messy, but So having the hair flow over the shoulder as well as those two things just made it too much happening up here. And then there's of course like nothing happening anywhere else, which that part of it's not that bad, even though she probably would do better to have more attention drawn lower. Sometimes leaning into your shape and your silhouette is fine too when you do it correctly. I just think that this could have done better with her hair back behind her shoulders. Okay, next up, this was a weird time, wasn't it? They randomly went on stage at Global Citizen, and I think they were like telling people about vaccines or something. It was just a bit of a weird day. And I think everybody was a little bit like, what are they doing here? Exactly. It was odd. The dress was okay on its own, but postpartum is not the best time to do this style of dress because it gives no diversion from the tummy. This one actually accidentally did the opposite of what I think it intended. It intended with the embellishments to draw the eye up and then down, which it kind of does. But in order to do so, you have to pass over the belly area. And at this point in time, she had a little bit of a tummy going on. So it just maybe wasn't the best choice for this. An A-line skirt, some flowy fabric would have been a lot better. Back in time, this was early on. The sleeve length is perfect. The dress length is perfect. The waistline of the dress is almost perfect. It looks to be riding up just a tad, like they intended it to be just a tad lower. Look at how the sleeves have just a little bit of room in them. They have this tiny, ever so slight puff at the shoulder, and they have room. So you can't see just how skinny her arms are, which helps balance the width of her torso. It's perfect. It's ingenious. It's got a very simple collar, simple situation everywhere. It is a great dress. I think it was probably perfect for this occasion. I'm not sure exactly when it was. I don't love the little slingbacks have a detail on the back heel part. I don't love that for this look, particularly because honestly, nude heels would have been a better choice here, or white heels, because her hat is also white. So, you know, she's doing the black handbag, black shoes. That's okay, but she should have had black in her hat, I think. And then her hair, she probably should have done like a chignon or something like that. Something low down here would have looked a lot better than the way it looked there. It looked almost like she didn't style it at all, so it could have been a little more polished. Overall, that was one of the better dresses that I've seen her in, and part of that was the simplicity of it and the strategic placing of volume. As you saw, the skirt wasn't too huge, it wasn't too poofy, it was just right. This look was something I had never seen before. You'll be surprised. There's not many pictures of it, so I'm sorry, you guys. These were the best pictures I could find of this day or event or whatever this was. I think this was after they had announced they were just going to do one last little blitz of events and then they were out. And so maybe that's why there wasn't a ton of publicity going on with this, but it was actually quite a nice outfit. Let's talk about this top. She has had bad luck with mesh before, like real bad luck. But here, you guys, this works. The poofiness of the sleeves. Now, I know, I get it. It's not for everybody. Not everybody's going to agree with me here. But the poofiness of the sleeves, and then it gathers, it stops. It controls the mesh and it controls the volume. So it's not doing a ton of weird wrinkling because it's meant to be form-fitting, like the Lion King dress was meant to be form-fitting. So it was doing lots of weird wrinkling and pulling and drawing attention to her shoulders, which made them look beefy in that. Here, it allows her arms and her shoulders and whatnot to look more dainty. And then it's got this nice V-neck and some detailing down the center of the bust or the center of the chest, which is perfect because it just goes ahead and tells your eyes to come in and draw downward. It's a great strategy for an outfit for once she doesn't have a ginormous handbag. The skirt, I would love it on somebody else, I feel like, because it's got this nice zigzag pattern, but it's still all white. It's got some texture to it, which is really nice and interesting, but it has this stiff slit and a heavy hemline. So for her, I feel like it's maybe a bit too boxy of a skirt, but I like the skirt overall in general. Okay, next up is one I also really, really like. This almost camouflages her wide shoulders and makes it look like the dress is what's wide and that she's smaller within that dress, which is perfect. Misdirection. It's a great strategy, which we're going to be talking about in a swimsuit episode coming up. So the cap sleeve is wonderful for wider shoulders. If you feel like your shoulders are broad, whether or not they really are, or if your shoulders are actually broad and you have a bit of an inverted or a top heavy hourglass, cap sleeves are wonderful because they give the illusion that it's the sleeve coming out a bit, but your shoulders are actually smaller inside that fabric. So this was a great strategy. And then it's got these seams, maybe some little embellishments that kind of come down right along here, which that's not my favorite part of it or anything, but I do love the overall silhouette that it gave to her. The fabric looks great. The length looks great. She's doing those same black shoes and a black clutch again, which, you know, it's fine. She's got dark hair, so that can bring a lot of balance if she's not wearing a hat. Even her hairstyle, it all just comes across as a really nice balanced look, and I quite liked it. So what did you guys think about these outfits in white? Minus the wedding looks. I am going to be putting out that wedding episode probably a little bit later this month. I'm getting it ready, so look forward to that. I'm also going to include some of the Jordanian wedding in that as well. So thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I hope you liked today's fashion edition, and I hope you didn't mind my rant at the beginning about style and finding yourself in your style. I have found in my own personal life and with close friends of mine that, you know, if you're going through a difficult time, like, you know, maybe depression, maybe a toxic relationship, maybe you're with somebody who's really not treating you very nicely, or you're just in a stressful time, maybe you've got a lot of financial struggles, you know, fashion is the last thing that you care about. But when you start coming out of those things, one of the things that really feels like it brings life into people, back into people, is dressing nicely again. Putting something on that like feels nice and you feel like makes you look good and brings you that confidence. It's just almost like this special fairy dust feeling that comes over you when you finally do it again after not caring for so long because you had bigger fish to fry. And then you can kind of finally take a minute, and even just with beauty, like you can go back to taking time to do your makeup or do a facial or deep condition your hair or put on a fancy outfit or just buy yourself a dress, even a cheap dress. Buy yourself a dress. If you're going through a struggling time or you're coming out of one, some of those things that just kind of put you back in touch with that inner self of you, we get out of touch of when we're dealing with something horrible in life. Some of those beauty and fashion things can kind of set you back on track in a way and kind of give you a little TLC in a way that you didn't expect. And emotionally, it can be pretty powerful. So some of that, getting back in touch with your inner self and rediscovering your personal style or things like that. It's a journey that we're all on. When you get in sync with that and your look overall reflects that, it's just a wonderful, beautiful feeling. I don't know. That's it for today, you guys. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for being here and have a happy day. Bye.